to welcome all of you to the Ayer Conservation Commission meeting. This is Thursday, September 22nd. And also, it is the first day of fall.
Not yet.
I thought it was today.
2 more hours.
Oh, all right.
Hopefully we're out of here before the end, before
Yeah,
fall
exactly.
comes.
Yes, please.
Commissioners in attendance this evening are Jenna Meyer as member. We have George Bacon as member, Jessica Gino as member clerk. We have Mark Phillips as vice chair, myself, John Schmellenberger as chair. We have Heather Hampson as our agent. Welcome all of you. Welcome all of you sitting out there.
Oh, Heather's first meeting in person.
That's right, your first meeting in person.
First meeting
With
in
us.
person.
All right.
You have to buy after.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, drinks.
Do we have confirmation of agenda? Any changes to the agenda?
I have no changes to the agenda.
All right, motion to approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You don't need to do roll call.
I know, no more roll calls. Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
I don't have to read that thing anymore. I finally got it memorized and I'm not going to read it. No, I don't. I don't. Approval of the meeting minutes for September 8th, 2022. Everyone had an opportunity to look over the minutes. Any changes need to be made? I didn't see any. Thank you very much. Nicely written as always. Motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 8th, 2022 as written.
So moved.
Second?
No discussion, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. This is the time when we will open it up for public input. If there's anyone out there who would like to say anything as far as questions, comments, now is the time. Nothing, Ken?
Did you hear anything back about from the resident about the Long Pine sign?
I didn't hear anything. I didn't, no. I was gonna bring that up, but I didn't.
Was the letter sent?
Hmm?
Was the letter sent? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was just like, hey, here's a draft, what do you think? But,
Oh, no, just send it out. Nothing in return. Okay, no public input. And our first item this evening is a public hearing, which we will open under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the Air Wetlands bylaws, a notice of intent.
I forgot to put the DEP number on that. I'm sorry.
It's DEP file number 100-0480.
Yes. Thank you.
I got it. I read it someplace. And
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot to put it on the, I just noticed, I'm like, I put it on the
Yep.
agenda.
So it's a Spectacle Pond water treatment plant between Willow Road and Memco Way. Town of Ayer, Department of Public Works. It is the Mass DEP file number 100-0480. And I wasn't here last time, but you all were working on the orders of condition, and that, has that been hammered out between?
It has. They only had one item that they, in the special conditions, that they wanted to take out. I drafted it both ways just in case you guys decided not to. And it was under this set of conditions is 19, whereas all construction vehicles must be clean of accumulated soil or plant matter from other sites prior to entering the site. That's the only one that they had issue with.
They didn't want to do that?
They said it wasn't applicable because the items aren't going to be, the vehicles aren't going to be moving. They're going to stay in that one site. They're not going to go on and off.
Gotcha.
So, but they were fine either way. So I drafted it both ways.
But how do they get them there?
Well, it comes from wherever, but it's not like going, like a large subdivision where it's going from one section to another. It's just that one road. That was it.
You know, like the oil spill, there were so many different areas they were driving around in. And there were invasives here and up there and stuff. That was an issue there, but this is all coming in on the dirt road, right?
Yeah.
So do we care that they might bring something in from far away?
Yeah, I guess
Like,
I thought that was
first
always the
over.
idea, is that
Yeah,
they're
so
coming
is it,
from
they were fine with the,
Spartansburg, Virginia or something,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
that, it was a minor concern, so it's not a huge deal if it stays in, so I just drafted it both ways, figuring that it's all set, so.
Yeah, I don't have a concern with, once they're on site, it's just like what they bring with them
Mhm.
off-site initially.
Yeah.
When they initially mobilized, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep, that was their only comment, which is
and
that
they'll
one
be okay
condition.
with it?
Yeah, and they said it should be, it's covered under the general conditions from the order, which but they were fine with it stayed in, they didn't mind either way.
It's not a big deal, is it? Having
No.
a- you know,
Does
okay.
this, I'm sorry, can you read this special again? Does it say daily or something, or?
No, all vehicles must be cleaned of accumulated soil or plant matter from other sites prior to entering the site through washing, booming, or other methods approved in advance by the commission.
I think that should stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Especially if they want-
that was their only concern was number 19. I thought it was a different one, but that's what he said, so it's okay. Sounds good to me.
Any other comments about the orders?
Nope.
And then I got it all done.
Okay, is there a motion to approve and issue the orders of condition, and that would be as originally written, right? DEP file number 100-0480.
Second?
Okay, it was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes unanimously. So we can sign it.
Yeah.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
would you like a cookie?
I haven't signed it like forever.
I know, I don't have to do stamps.
Oatmeal raisin, homemade,
Um,
pretty good.
yeah, eventually do a signature sheet with the names pre-typed.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
want
Sure.
to be before me or after?
It doesn't matter. All we need to do is have the head Kuba first.
Okay. I'll sign.
I'm sorry,
it.
I wasn't listening.
You're the head Kuba.
I know, but what you're saying?
Your name goes first.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sorry, next time I'll type up the names on
I
it.
left it
I
up,
apologize.
so you don't need that.
I don't.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
I'll go below you.
Everyone else should go with it.
I'll go below your pathetic excuse for a signature.
You're just jealous. It takes me 2 seconds.
Are we going to discuss the recommendation?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have hard copies?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm sure we're going to need to reference them.
Sure do. That's the last bit of that.
So you're clear on all the different areas that, like, you scan it and then.
Yep.
And then DP and then mail it and
Yep.
DP gets it.
Yeah, I'll actually, because I get hand delivered, so I'll ask Dan if he just wants to pick it up,
Yeah.
which saves time. And then, yeah, then I gotta scan, email it to DEP and then mail it, and then that's it. 'Cause Dan picks his up, and
Yeah.
I usually ask him if the engineer, because I did say to the parks, I go, do you want to send to the engineer? He goes, nah, I'm good. I'm like, oh, saves paper.
They send those cookies back down.
Yeah, they kind of stalled out there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Would you boys like some cookies?
They always want cookies. They're children.
Oatmeal?
Please,
everybody.
oatmeal raisin.
Thank you. Oh, they're my favorite kind of cookie. Awesome.
Which, Marilyn, I won't have one right now, but please. Marilyn hates raisins, by the way, so. She was a little upset.
Did she make them or did you make them?
No, I made them. She wouldn't make them.
That's what I'm wondering.
Isn't there a raisin in there?
Man, you twisted her arm to make
That's
him
kinda
make
cookie.
you
Nope.
have her make you some with raisins?
Got her all signed?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor? I don't have to say this, but moved by George and seconded by, no, it's just on film. Or on Zoom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
We're like an almost well-oiled machine.
Next item this evening is a discussion of the conservation recommendation for Stratton Hill preliminary subdivision and conservation analysis.
Thank you, Jess.
Hmm?
Thank you.
Go.
Thank you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of work on later on, so.
We all have good ideas. Before we, just because I don't feel I should receive one-sided communications that nobody else is privy to. So, I got a bunch of texts,
Please, yep, go ahead.
text from, resident Annie Reed starting at 6:07 tonight. So I just don't want to be the only recipient.
It's okay by me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I hope you all have a chance to check your Concom email before the meeting. I sent you and CC'd Heather and John with my comments regarding your recommendations and comments on the peer review report. I hope it's not too late for you guys to discuss these issues and concerns. I'm hoping you will not make any recommendations until more information is gathered. To which I replied, I'll make sure we take a look at your comments, but I am pretty sure we are finalizing our recommendation tonight. As Mark Phillips has previously said, new information is unlikely to change the recommendations we are already making, but I'll read your letter. And then she responded, I agree with your recommendations, but not sure how they can be finalized until the applicant includes more required data for the area of development. Matt Byrne found evidence of 2 turtle nesting sites on his site walk in the area of development. How do you even know what kind of turtles are there and if they're endangered or not when no evaluation has been done for the area of development? I responded, I'll read your email to the commission, see what everybody says. So I responded back, she responded back, I don't understand why you would finalize recommendations before following the recommendations of the peer reviewer. What is the point of hiring him and paying him and then ignoring his recommendations? What's the rush? Planning board can continue this project and postpone further review until the applicant properly surveys the ecological value and documents all the species that are in the area where he's proposing putting houses down. And for your information, I took a 4.5-minute video today in the rain of water pouring down the gravel road, traversing Wright Road, missing the storm drains, cutting a new swatch through the berm next to Standish Avenue, running down Standish into a giant standing pond at the bottom, and then cutting the path through the neighbor's lawn and gravel to the beach and through a plastic 12-inch diameter diverter pipe directly into Sandy Pond. In other words, runoff is going directly from Stratton Hill into Sandy Pond, and I have video proof, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yet. Heather told me it is illegal for any water from that site to be leaving the site, never mind running unobstructed and unfiltered directly into Sandy Pond. I would think that the applicant would be required to immediately address that and to fix the retention pond so it functions properly. And until that happens, I don't know why any board or commission would entertain any further review of this project. He hasn't cleaned up his mess from 16 years ago. I respond, I'm getting ready to go to meeting now. I'll read your texts on this as well. Here I am.
There's more?
And then she just said she was driving to the meeting. We'll try to get here by 7:20. So I see another project on the agenda first. I feel it's critically important to not make recommendations until more ecological information is gathered for the area where development is proposed. And I guess I need to be there in person to reiterate that.
We did a site walk with
Okay.
Stan Dillis, correct?
Yes.
And we brought that, I think we brought that issue up.
Yeah.
And his comment was, it's not finished. The project's not finished.
Right.
It was abandoned. So the reason that it's running across the road is because it's abandoned, and if it's finished and the storm drains or the storm collection system is working properly, that won't happen. That's kind of my take on it, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess her point would be, well, so they started development 16 years ago, put it on hold, but it doesn't mean that during development, just like our special conditions would say, that if there's a situation that is, not in line with whatever special conditions there would have been, that they need to address it. Kind of along those lines. I don't know where possibly it could be enforced or how it was communicated, but I guess that would be kind of the idea, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
Well, if the
here,
runoff is having negative effects on Sandy Pond, then we can take action at any time.
Right. Right. But I think as the project becomes towards completion, if it continues and goes towards completion, that won't be an issue.
It would actually be during construction. They'd have to fix that during construction.
When they start up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They create temporary basins to
Mhm.
control that, so it wouldn't even be completion. The cleaning of that up would start when they start construction again.
But wouldn't the current basin that's there be considered during construction? And does it not need to function,
It would be with that into being it's not a conservation, it's a planning. They approve subdivisions. And at this point now, they're the ones that are charged the same DPW stormwater permits. So it would be addressed at that point. So if it's a concern on our end when it does go to this definitive subdivision stage, that could be comments that come from the the conservation to the planning board, that they address that prior to any work being done, starting, make sure they get that under control.
Okay.
Did you have something you wanted to add to that, Ken?
Yes, if in fact it is determined that the cause of the problem came from the Stratton Hill rough gravel road, not from any other road that's connected to it, or any other runoff that's connected to it, I'd recommend that the Conservation Commission ask him to install a set of wattles and hay bales immediately. Close the road and stop the water from running off the site, just like we would with any other construction project that would be a new construction. Similar to what happened over at Central Ave when they started those projects. We came in and talked to them, instead, close the front of the site off, put up a hay bale line, install the wattles, and keep anything that's on the site until you rectify the construction that's required.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a good idea. Thank you.
well,
You got the video?
there is a video of it coming off the site, crossing the road. So,
And this was today?
Yes.
and
Quite a bit today.
The torrential downpour. Rained a lot.
It did.
Yeah.
Huh.
and then
Anything else from her?
the other matter is, because we sent the commission, everybody a letter at about 5:30 today. That's you,
It wasn't on my email.
about 5:30?
I just checked it.
Yeah, so it's in
Oh.
line.
Okay. So I leave it up to the chair whether you want to read it into the record or not, or read it for contemplation or not.
I don't want to read it right now.
I will send it to you.
I will definitely read
Send
it.
it to Jess and John and myself.
And not that,
And
but not
that's
to.
it. Not to the whole board, yeah.
Okay.
I can forward it right now.
I'm okay with it.
We're not in the habit of sort of entertaining information that comes in
That was.
this late. I don't know about you all, but I don't sit at home in front of my computer waiting for emails to come in. And I didn't see it.
It didn't get sent to the three of us.
Heather knows my position.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
Oh, you didn't get it?
Yeah,
it
so it only got
gets
sent to you and
sent
Jess.
to Jess and John and myself,
hand that down there.
And,
She can read it.
Mark from the town planner and the chair of the planning board.
To Marion and Ann.
Absolutely. Marion, Ann, also Jeff, and Ken, if you would like a cookie.
Homemade oatmeal raisin.
They're awfully good.
Like a cookie?
Thanks.
No?
So I'm having difficulty hearing, so
Yeah.
I wonder if people will speak a little louder.
Okay, we'll try.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have one more. You're very good.
So let's let's continue with the discussion of the recommendation. Everyone has had a chance to read it?
No.
No?
And
Do you have it?
Not in its entirety.
And I wanted to propose two changes.
This is a lot. You're gonna forward it to us.
I can if you want to, yeah.
Did you wanna look at it now, or are you good?
What is it?
That email? That,
Yeah, no,
I'll forward it to you guys in the morning.
thank you.
What are your changes, Jess?
On page 4 at the top, the first full bulleted point where, well, let me see your page 4. Your page 5, never mind, it's page 5 anyways, all along. In the item before where it says regarding blasting, the previous item,
Yeah.
I'd like to change that to be a little bit broader, to say, because of the extensive surrounding habitat for wildlife in this area, the planning board should consider what requirements it might seek in terms of the sequence of construction. The reason for this is to shorten and/or minimize the impact from construction disturbance on wildlife in the adjacent undeveloped forest. For example, consideration might be given to whether adverse wildlife impacts could be lessened if the areas to be developed first and completed first were at the back of the site, either above the right-of-way or closest to the right-of-way just below, rather than starting with the lots closest to Wright Road. I think that initially was
Yeah.
a suggestion that Heather had made a while ago.
Can I look at it?
You can look at it, and
What, I totally lost you. You said it's the one above the regarding blasting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
to
one here, the
replace
first
that
bullet
one.
point on that one, to replace,
I'll replace the whole bullet.
yeah, just to be a little bit less specific, but still give the planning board leeway to, depending on what they, if they permit this, what they permit, you know, give them, consider the wildlife impact. So if you, I don't know.
yeah, so if you
Yeah.
phase usually they phase construction when they do subdivision, so the whole point is to try to do and complete all the construction north of the right of way, if there will be any, before have it 100% complete, and then go south of that right of way. Then that way, the only traffic going up that way would just be people that are now living in those houses, to lessen the impact. Because usually what happens, they go back and forth and do the whole site at once, or whichever, and that would make a longer impact on that right of way and that crossing. So if we can just get that all done first,
But if they
then we're
don't,
going south, then we don't have to worry about that impact, that impact.
but if they don't cross the right of way,
Yeah.
still get that closer to the right of way
Yeah,
done first, so
the whole point
it's-
is to just get everything either at that right of way or north of it done first, and then go south to limit the amount of impacts to the wildlife crossing area.
So that makes sense, but I'm just wondering if we should be a little bit more specific than in the bullet point to say, we think you should start here and work your way down.
Well,
Have it be
it
two.
sort of depends on what the plan is that the planning board finds out.
Approves.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
So-
just confusing to me, but if we
okay.
can.
Is this confusing to
The
planning board members? It just
Pretty
makes sense.
impossible to build houses in the back without installing the entire road with underground utilities,
Yeah.
water, sewer,
Okay.
the whole works. The disturbance has to start, you know.
So I think our
Okay, well,
intent
then you
is
do
just
all
to
that.
have you think about it.
Yeah, but you could do the infrastructure and then
Yeah.
work your way down on the houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
What else
again,
did you
our
have?
position
Oop.
was that we wanted nothing north of the right of way anyways.
Right.
So why are we not just silent on it? Because that is still high
Because we
priority.
don't know what they're going to do.
That would be
Okay.
our recommendation.
Will they, once they've approved something, will they come back for our thoughts on that final plan?
Yeah, when they do a final when they do a definitive subdivision plan, they all, site plan subdivisions, interdepartmental review is requested on all projects, so that's what we can give, more comments when the definitive plan comes in.
Okay, so maybe that, well,
And you have something else?
Yep, and at the very end, as a new bullet item, at the very end, I'd like to add, regarding the final disposition of the OSRD open space, whether to the town in a traditional conservation restriction, to mass fish and wildlife, or to another agreed-upon party, the commission recommends that the planning board require this disposition to be as close to complete as reasonably possible prior to the commencement of work on the site. Just so that whatever they're doing with the open space doesn't get, as it did 14 years ago, get dragged to the end and then, yeah,
I agree.
okay.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
How about you, George? You got some comments?
Anybody want to butcher it now?
No? Jen?
No.
Mark?
Again, unfortunately, I have not fully read it, so
Okay.
sorry.
Does it need to be said on page 1, actually the very first line? Requires a minimum of 50% of the land to be set aside as open space within a proposed subdivision. Should it be a subdivision of 6 houses or more? Does that need to be said? No? Okay.
As long as it refers to the OSRD subdivision, that's
Mhm.
required.
Okay. All right. Yep.
All right.
We'll give Mark a little bit of time to look it over. What's your comments on the oatmeal raisin cookie?
Very good.
Thank you.
Nice and chewy.
I undercooked it by like 5 minutes.
That's when they're best.
Mhm.
That's when they're best. I always undercook when I make brownies by a good 3 minutes.
The right amount of spices.
Good.
Very.
I can't take any of them home. I've already got some, and I'm gonna have to eat them all myself. So.
So I assume when you were writing this that you decided you couldn't just turn in one page that said no advise no development whatsoever.
Yes.
You recommend this there.
Yeah.
How about you, Heather? Are you good with?
She wrote everything that I had in my head that I couldn't get down here. Like, that's what I'm reading. I'm like, that's what I was trying to say that I couldn't do.
Practice.
Yeah. My luck, well, I won't have to write like 2.
one too.
Yeah, my luck, there would be like 1 more OSRD, and I'm like, oh, no, that goes with practice. Can I actually make one comment on it as I'm reading this? Just because I know Mark's stance on this. Under the north of the right-of-way, this.
What page are we on?
Page 3, I apologize. The north of the
Yep.
right-of-way, that second bullet point. I know it says it's not realistically feasible to prohibit housing north of the power line. Can we add that the commission strongly, or like, again, Jess's words are better than
Oh.
mine,
Nevertheless, the
strongly
commission
discourages
strongly-
any development north of there, just to reiterate it a little bit more, that we don't want it?
So,
I think it's good to emphasize.
I think it doesn't hurt to put it in multiple places.
Could put that in bold too.
I just remember that that's the majority of everyone's comment was to not do
Yeah.
that. So I feel
Yeah.
like if it just reiterated, like, that's the last thing you read in that is, we don't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not, if not feasible. No, why don't we just, no. But still,
He's good.
And I guess I'm right there with you, but let's take it a step higher. And Jess, I just know your demeanor and how you try to be helpful, but at the same time, again, I think you're providing an out, which
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with. And I think we need to be more forceful. I think some of the bullets that you're providing basically provide that out, and it's like, oh, okay, well then let's do this.
Fair. Okay.
And that's where I think we need to take a stronger stance.
Okay.
And I think maybe explaining more the reasons for that strong stance with regards to the impacts that we feel the blasting would have, the impacts that the crossings would have, the impacts and the mortality of the animals and everything that's up there. I think that maybe needs to be a little stronger. And
Okay.
let's be less providing of options and more, this is the recommendation.
Okay.
We know they're all smart people over there.
Yeah.
If they're not going to be able to figure that out, then we got a challenge. But
Right.
but at the same time, I haven't seen it yet, and I was scanning it quickly to try and find it. But do you say in here anywhere that we believe that there's more than enough space south to make this a successfully, economically viable development, even though it might be compacted to the southern portion of the property?
Okay.
I think there is.
So
Does it call that out? maybe
I
somewhere?
think I'm almost positive that it does. Because I think I remember reading that somewhere, and I just can't remember where.
there's something about
There was something about, yeah.
bottom of page 4, the first general recommendation. Reduce the size.
Yeah.
So I
again,
can make that stronger.
To the
Yeah.
very end of that first sentence,
Yeah.
take that out, right? I like the one suggestion, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I could just put in verbatim what you just said, that there's enough space south of the power lines to make it economically viable.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And you do point out the natural recreation, so that's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So instead it says, please consider whether some house units north of the right-of-way, could just take out some.
And please.
Consider, okay. Instead, consider whether house units north of the right-of-way could be relocated south. Okay. So getting rid of the please and the some.
Right, maybe just saying that, redistribution of parcels south to the I guess,
Just say-
maximum build out or something to that effect.
Should be pursued, we'll just,
Yeah. I mean, I can go to this.
but we wanna be careful not to give design suggestions from here.
Yeah.
Understood, but since they've been provided. Since they've been provided, but
Yeah.
when I look at this, they're not at anywhere near that type of dimension now as proposed.
Yeah.
But yet we know that it's feasible, because they wouldn't have put this together if it wasn't.
And I will just reiterate that a different side issue outside of our purview is keeping the same number of units south of the power lines is still going to be an issue for the neighborhood in terms of traffic impacts.
Oh, totally
So,
agree.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
out of our purview, so.
Yeah, no, and that, again,
Yeah.
that's something that
Yeah,
they would have to battle with, but.
okay.
But, they came to us with the road already there,
Yeah.
thinking we need to use that road that's already there. We don't have to. They don't have to.
True. Yeah. There can be slight redesigns, I suppose.
Yep.
Then the only thing though to still emphasize is what we've heard is that because they have not closed out the initial approved plan from 2005 to 8, that period, they could always decide to say, okay, we'll go back to that plan, we're already permitted. And then
Well, and-
that's a bigger footprint north and south.
Okay, but then that's also what we're supposed to be pursuing with regards to council as to, is that, are those permits still valid?
Going to be talking to Natural Heritage Endangered Species on Monday. I meant to tell you that today.
Okay. You just did.
I just did. To find out the status of what they consider about their own permit. If their conservation management permit is still valid in Natural Heritage's view because work is still ongoing under that permit in Groton, then it's possible, it still becomes possible that they could come back and say, okay, we're just going to go with the original development plan. 2 members of the planning board are here, so I would rather not be speaking off the top of my head on that.
Okay,
So,
more to come.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Need a little more time? Mark?
No, I think if we make some of those edits,
Yeah.
And maybe do a review,
Okay.
kind of back through, for similar optioneering, I guess. So, page 3, north of right of way, second bullet, I'd say scratch it.
Oh. That's the one where you were just said we wanted to put in stronger statement.
Well, this is where I'm saying
Okay.
we're providing the options.
So
Why not be silent? Go ahead.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just hesitant to, if we put out our kind of recommendations, right, and we don't give these options for, hey, if you don't take our recommendations, like, I just want to make sure we haven't lost our voice in then providing that additional information. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
providing it here, I hear why we wouldn't necessarily want to do that, but at the
Okay.
same time, are we gonna have an opportunity? And I know it goes to some sort of review, but I just want to make sure we're still going to be heard at later dates.
Okay.
Well, we will.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have your hand up, or you just?
Can't hear you.
Speak
Way
louder,
too- way
please.
too
Oh.
quiet.
Sorry.
Can't hear anything.
It's hard to hear with a mask on, I know.
You gotta speak a lot louder.
Yeah,
Apologies
Much
there.
easier in Zoom.
I guess so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying.
Yep.
So yeah, if we don't,
But if it's going
If
to
we
come
don't
back to
provide
us,
it.
then that's fine. Or if it's going to come back to us, then that's fine. We should absolutely remove it.
okay.
But I'm not sure to what extent it comes back to us. It doesn't come back to us
In the same.
in the preliminary stage.
Okay.
Or for the same recommendation.
Yeah.
It's just a interdepartmental, be like, here we have these comments,
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
listen to us. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not,
So that's my concern.
yeah,
then.
because at that point, and I don't know how the planning board looks at it before, but like, when it gets to the definitive stage, if there's nothing in our jurisdiction, more or less our comments would be, well, it's not in our jurisdiction, but we would like to see X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
This is the point where we would give our recommendation
So-
on the
With
plan.
that, then I would maybe want to leave it in with a little bit stronger wording.
Yeah.
With a lot of it stronger wording.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Leave in stronger wording.
Yeah. Just if this is our only shot to
Mhm.
really be heard.
Okay.
Because this gets then voted on by the planning board, like, it takes this into consideration for their recommendation, for
Right.
their final
Pretty
approval.
loud voices.
I was trying.
Everybody yell.
So, this is our chance to,
Yeah.
Get
then I would
everything
vote to
out.
leave it in.
I just think, in my opinion, I think just some things just need to be a little bit stronger.
Would you do me a favor? Would you go over those changes made so far, the ones that you did and everyone else,
Right now?
right now?
Okay. Including the two I had added in at the beginning, okay. So, what we have now is on page 3, under north of the right-of-way, the second bullet, actually, I could say if not feasible, I said if the planning board decides to permit
Development north of the right-of-way.
it's a development north of right-of-way, the board should at least seek to reduce the number of houses in order to limit impact. This would also serve to reduce daily traffic passing under the power lines, blasting impacts, blah, blah, blah. And then in bold, nevertheless, the Conservation Commission strongly discourages any development north of the power lines.
Yes.
Or nevertheless, to reiterate,
Isn't that one, this would serve to reduce the daily traffic? It's not gonna reduce the traffic, it's just gonna be on one.
okay, should
Road,
at least
right?
seek to reduce,
But passing under, because there's
Right.
fewer houses above the power lines and
Well,
fewer cars.
This section is just
yeah,
the housing.
yeah.
There's a section that talks about the traffic, correct? In a separate piece?
Yeah, so when you get to the second
it's
bullet
actually
point, power line right of way,
Right.
there's 2 bullet points that talk about ways to reduce the impacts to wildlife and road crossings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the
Reduce
next- right, the
roadway
next section.
crossings or underpasses.
Yep.
Okay, so that's all of that. Then the next change would be the first bullet under general recommendations. On page 4, where it would read now something to the effect of, the commission encourages the planning board where possible to reduce the size, i.e. number of lots, and overall impact of the subdivision. I can specify that more, either physical size of lots,
Yeah, why don't you just say reduce
number
the
of lots.
lot size?
So that's 2 things, or
And
lot
number of
size,
lots.
yeah.
Yep.
One suggestion would be for the, and then put in, there's enough space south of the power lines to make an economically viable subdivision. We feel,
Yep.
we
Yeah,
feel.
we feel, yeah.
We feel there is enough space. And then one suggestion would also be to reconsider the planning board's request for the construction of a playground. This seems excessive and unnecessary, blah, blah, blah. Instead, consider whether house units north of the right-of-way could be relocated south to the areas closer to the right road entrance or to the location where a playground was envisioned. The redistribution of parcels south of the right-of-way should be strongly pursued.
So can we go back to the we feel because it's too wishy-washy?
I
And
wanted to
say,
take that out too.
yeah, and just
Okay.
say, again,
There is
go ahead and
enough.
say how you stated it
There
initially,
is.
like we feel there's,
Okay, there is enough space south of the power lines to make an economically viable subdivision. Just leave it like that.
so you could say that the applicant has shown in previous designs that there is
They
enough.
haven't shown on
What am I
previous.
looking at?
It's just a proposed view plan.
Yeah.
I think just leaving it
Yeah,
there.
just like that. Yeah, I mean, because they have shown all their previous
This is-
plans have everything north and south.
No, I understand that.
Yeah,
But this is a much higher lot number.
Yeah.
If you now look at the number of lots that they're proposing, number of homes that they're proposing, this amount of lots down here on this plan is the same number of homes, I believe, or very close to it.
Which plan is
Can I just see
that?
that
I
for a
have no
second?
idea.
I think that might be the
Because
yield
that might have
plan.
been one of their alternate, if you don't
Yeah, it's
agree
the
with
yield
this,
plan, that's
then we
why.
could do this.
So that's just to show
Yes.
in a conventional subdivision that what they can fit for lots. So it's not it's just drawn on plan. It's not an actual. It's the yield plan. They have to submit that as part of the subdivision.
Okay.
It's not they don't take into consideration, they just do what is in the traditional subdivision plan, what they have to do for lot sizes, and they just hash them in. There's no testing, there's nothing that goes into this whatsoever, just here's the lot, there you go, that's how many we can do. Yield plans
Okay.
are I don't
I'm
understand
not sure I
planning.
follow exactly what that means, but at the end of the day, if that's,
Yeah,
so that's presented and that's nothing that they can build, so why was it presented?
It was a threat.
No.
Ken, did you?
it's a yield plan, I don't understand.
Clarification, that is a preliminary subdivision plan, what he's looking at.
It's the yield plan he's looking
Contents
at.
of that page, and I know what page you're looking at, was an exercise that we requested. We didn't necessarily agree with the way they did it.
Yeah.
We haven't concluded that we agree with it. But simply they put it together in their mind to show in the narrowest of ways maybe how many lots you could squeeze in it. It's not a design or anything close to a design. And I don't necessarily agree with the way they did it at all. So it's simply one of their pages, in the
Okay.
preliminary design. It holds no, acceptance or anything else at this point in time. So I wouldn't use that as a criteria to determine how many lots they could put on something, the way it's shown.
Okay.
Simply an exercise that we may or may not agree with the way they did it.
Okay, all right. So then we don't have to reference that? I guess you can just, we take out the feel or whatever.
Take out the rest?
We feel.
Yeah, take out the we feel.
I think in general, as we're kind of glancing through this, if there's any of those like we feel or anything, we can remove that. I mean, that's why we're writing.
Okay, and then the next item that I replaced, the one that's in your draft with this one, is because of the extensive surrounding habitat for wildlife in this area, the planning board should consider what requirements it might seek in terms of the sequence of construction. This is out of our bailiwick anyway.
Yeah,
The reason for this is to shorten and/or minimize the impact from construction disturbance on wildlife in the adjacent undeveloped forest. For example, consideration might be given to whether adverse wildlife impacts could be lessened in the areas to be developed first and completed first, could be lessened if the areas to be developed first and completed first were at the back of the site, either above the right-of-way or closest to the right-of-way just below, rather than starting with the lots closest to Wright Road. We could say add in infrastructure, of course, would probably have to be completed for the whole site in the beginning.
Sure.
Acknowledging the infrastructure.
And I just have one suggestion on that. Instead of saying forest, can we just do forested area? I just don't want someone to come back and say it doesn't meet the definition of a forest.
Oh, forested.
Because there's
area.
actually definition to be so many acres in order to
Okay.
be a forest. And not that I think that's gonna happen, but
No, that's the kind of detail we want.
I'm sorry, what page are you guys on?
We're on page 5, and it's the bullet right above regarding blasting.
Yeah, so
it's
if
replacing the entire
Oh,
bullet.
okay.
That's why it's a little.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the last change for now would be adding,
On page,
adding in one final bullet
Oh, okay.
at the
Yep.
very end,
yep,
which was regarding the final disposition of the OSRD open space, whether to the town in a traditional conservation restriction, to mass fish from wildlife, or to another agreed-upon party. The commission recommends that the planning board require this disposition to be as close to complete as reasonably possible prior to the commencement of work on the site. So,
I'm glad you thought of that. That's good.
thank you.
okay.
And again, thank you, Jess and Heather, for your work on this.
group effort.
Well,
All the different points came from all different sources.
Any other thoughts from commissioners? Any thoughts, comments from you in the audience? It's exciting. I'm happy to be back here. I can't even begin to tell you. I really am.
Are you asking us for input?
what I said.
You had your hand up?
Yeah.
Yep. State your name, please.
Ann Gagnon,
Hi.
Mass Fish and Wildlife. I was just wondering, maybe you already included this and I missed it, but I was wondering if there's any reference to the use of Cape Cod berms as opposed to granite berms? Because with turtles, especially red turtles, it's, you know, one of the issues is that they get down into the road and then they can't get back up and end up getting squished, so.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
So if there's Cape Cod berms
Throughout the site.
throughout the site,
Okay.
then they can easily get out of the way of cars and not get run over, hopefully.
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 I see a few.
Yeah, we can add that bullet in there somewhere.
I don't think that was in anywhere, but that's a good.
We did have a reference to no vertical curbing, particularly under the right of way, but this would be a good broader one under
Yeah,
general.
over
Yeah.
the whole site, there's no reason that it has to be just there, you know?
Right.
Ken?
And quite frankly, I think it would be easier for the
Yeah.
electric utility company if there weren't granite curbs when they, you know, they have to go across the road.
They go through lawns.
I'm sorry?
They put their stuff through lawns,
Yep,
so they won't go through the curbs anyways.
right.
You have a comment, Ken?
I was gonna respond to Ann's thought.
Yes.
When it got to the planning board, we intended to talk about super elevating the road as well, something I thought about. So potentially have no curb on one side. We could look at the areas of the road. This is way out of the woods. I believe this is really beyond Conservation Commission in this discussion, but typically you can design a road and super elevate so one side is higher than the other and run the drainage to one side, keep it away from all the things we're concerned about, and potentially have no curb on one side at all. And Cape Cod berm on the other side or some other alternate. There's many ways to look at it. You can look at overcoming berm by potentially putting swales in it, and just many other options to control water and to control the ability for turtles or other concerned reptiles to get across the road. So we'll look at all that stuff.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else, Ann?
No, no.
Did you?
Marion, did you wish to say anything?
I said, I just want to thank the Conservation Commission.
Is it light stuff in there?
No.
All the times that
Is-
yeah, really.
The streetlights.
Very welcome.
Dirk. Oh.
Oh, and,
Oh, I'm
sorry,
sorry.
sorry,
One more.
one other quick thing,
Yep.
which is to say thank you to the commission for allowing the consideration of the open space set aside to possibly come to the Mass Department of Fish and Game slash Fisheries and Wildlife. As you are aware, we're trying to protect adjacent land up there, and hopefully it'll all work out, but we appreciate your not insisting that it goes to the Conservation Commission, so thank you.
More than welcome.
We're just putting the wording in here so it's broad, but
Yeah, I understand.
my intent is to go to you. That's what my preference would be. Yeah.
One more thing, Ken, then we'll let Ann speak.
This goes back to Jess in the comment about who the land goes to.
Yep.
If you got a copy of the conservation management permit with you, Jess, I didn't bring one. And there it says it goes to the town of Ayer,
Yeah.
so you wanna look at that.
Oh, we go maybe.
That as well, as you look at what you wanna recommend potentially in that discussion, in a amendment to that CMP is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Pretty sure it states it goes, in fact, I think the town already accepted board of selectmen and everybody else under that permit. So be careful.
Oh, we can amend
But
this.
that, we think that the CM,
I know what you think.
yeah.
As we, if I may, as we discover where the CMP is, we should just be aware, which I think Mr. Ziskin is saying is, let's maintain that thought in our minds that it actually exists on the current CMP as being given to, as being granted to the town of Ayer. We may need an amendment at some point to make it work, depending on how the dust falls.
And I was curious too, if any member of the commission was on the board at that time in 2003 and 4 and 5. I thought so. So you may recall some of that conversation from back then, you may not. But it might be in the records of the Conservation Commission from that time.
How good's your memory, George?
So Mark,
Yeah. Annie, you had your hand up.
I did. I have several comments. I think I sent something to you and Heather and Jess at like 5:30 this afternoon.
Yep, I didn't see it.
And so, yeah, you obviously didn't have time to go over it, but I'll just touch on some of the highlights of just what my concerns are.
Sure.
Do you want to come up and speak into the speaker?
Sure.
It's on record over there?
I believe that's
This-
working. So
Microphone's on?
It should be.
For the recording.
Hello? Does that make a difference?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can hear it in the thumbs up.
He can hear it. He can hear you.
He just
Now you
jumped out
can
of his
speak
chair.
normal.
Yeah. I try to.
Okay. I think what I'll do is just kind of read general statement about my most important concerns, and then I will go through my specific comments having to do with the draft, so that you guys can try to incorporate those directly or not as you decide to do. So the most important concerns and general comments that I have are as follows. And I think it's premature for the Conservation Commission to make any recommendations to the Planning Board prior to considering the following.
You have to speak up louder, because I think people behind you can't hear.
Okay. I believe the Conservation Commission has both the ecological expertise and legal authority to retain the services of an ecological professional per GLCH 44S5 blah blah blah. I attached it to the email. To conduct the critical ecological investigations that the BSC peer review indicates are missing or incomplete in their report, which I also attached, and make recommendations based on collected data. I also believe the Conservation Commission should retain the legal services of an environmental and land use law attorney per the same document to ensure that all required new and existing environmental and state agency permits are in place. And I'm not going to read the rest of this, but I am going to just refer to the draft comments. I believe that because the Conservation Commission retained the services of a peer review consultant to review the conservation analysis, that they should very seriously consider following his recommendations. And what the recommendations that he did are aligned with my own recommendations. And when I make these comments, I'm talking about the 25 or so acres that are south of the Beaver Pond, which is just north of the northern end of the Loop Road, and the property line on the western side, and the Long Pond wetlands on the east side of the site. Those are the areas that you all are most concerned about, and also those are the areas where the applicant is proposing development, building houses, putting in driveways, putting the road in, reconfiguring the road, whatever he's going to do, site work blasting and whatnot. And as the BSC report identifies, the applicant has not, in that area proposed for development, identified any specimen trees, any plant or wildlife species that have habitats there, nor has he documented any wildlife corridors. I mean, he has basically collected no data, not quantified anything, and not evaluated it and made recommendations. And the BSC report is recommending that the Conservation Commission hire an ecological expert.
He did not say that, to my knowledge.
Well, I can pull it up in the document. I highlighted the document that I sent to you. So, you know, I can do that right now, or you can look at my email after this meeting. But he did recommend that.
You know, if you could do that right now.
Okay. Let's see. Oops.
I'm reading it right here.
My computer is not cooperating. That's not what I wanted.
Oh, I see it.
You see it?
Yep,
What page is it on?
20.
BSC recommends the Conservation Commission provide significant guidance on how to assess all the data requested as part of the conservation analysis process, or that ecological professionals be required to contribute at least to the final analysis and ranking. You know, and then there's more specific recommendations about parameters pertaining to specimen trees, and require a trained ecologist. Given the complicated nature of ecological evaluations that are the basis of the conservation analysis, BSC recommends that the Conservation Commission require a trained ecologist with suitable expertise and experience to certify the results of procedures leading to the prioritization of conservation areas within a large development site. And if you go into this, you know, again, my apologies for sending this to you guys this afternoon, but it took a lot of time to go through all these documents and identify all these deficiencies. But I don't understand why you would hire a consultant and pay them to review the analysis and then not follow their recommendations in order to be able to make ecological recommendations to the planning board that are based on, data-driven analysis and evaluations. And I'm talking specifically about the area that is to be developed. I'm not talking about having him go and survey the areas that he is proposing to donate to Fish and Game or other entities. And I would like to point out that when Matt Byrne, who was the peer reviewer, went on one site visit, I think on August 5th, he observed 2 different locations right near the graded road. One was right near the graded road at the power line right of way, and the other one was at a pile of earth that had been left by the applicant when he abandoned the site 16 years ago.
Yeah, we saw
near
those.
near the beaver pond, and that was one one scientist walking for one site walk on one day, and I don't know what kind of turtles were nesting there, but it seems to me that I think the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board, it would be in the best interest of everyone involved, all the agencies and the boards and the commissions and the community and the animals and the plants that live up there, to do a hapofaunal or whatever it's called survey for the area where he's proposing, basically developing the area into a subdivision. And I personally know that there's a stand of mature hemlocks, which are native species up there within the loop road where he's proposing building houses, and he's requested a waiver in his application letter to not have to survey any trees, specimen or otherwise, which is a requirement for him to survey all trees over 12-inch caliber. And I brought this up at a planning board meeting a couple of months ago, whenever it was, back in June, and he should be cataloging all the flora and fauna that is within the development site, so that the Conservation Commission can make recommendations to the planning board about where the housing should go and where the road should go. And if he's proposing plunking down a duplex where there's a stand of natural hemlocks, how will you even know if you haven't followed your own consultant's recommendations to insist that he do this? I mean, he did this for the Groton side of the property back in 2004, and he resubmitted it in his conservation analysis in 2022. And it's not for the area that's proposed to be developed, and it's almost 20 years old. So I don't understand, after 16 years of abandoning the site, why the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board do not postpone further review of this project until there is an ecological and legal reviews, of all the permits that his attorney is saying are still in place, and all documentation is provided and evaluated for the areas that are going to be built on. I mean, I have seen eagles up there. I've seen beavers up there. I've heard that there are moose up there. Somebody said that they saw a blanding turtle. I mean, we don't even know what's up there. And I'm talking about the portion that's been disturbed. It was disturbed so long ago that it's become overgrown, and native animals have started, living there and breeding there. And so, that's my big concern, my big general concern. And when you have a chance to read the email, and I also CC'd, Mark Archambault and Jonathan Krantz. So, the planning board has it, and I also believe that the town should, I don't know why they wouldn't hire somebody with legal, land use and ecological expertise to help them review the standing of any permits that the applicant is trying to move forward under, because I don't see that you guys have the expertise to make those determinations. I mean, I know that Ken Diskin has done a lot of research, and I've done a lot of research myself, but I don't have the expertise. I'm not a land use attorney. And so I feel pretty strongly that we would all benefit from stepping back and having a legal review of these permits, and also having representatives from the town meet directly with the agencies that have issued these permits, like NHESP, which Jess has said you are going to meet with her on Monday. But we heard at the last Conservation Commission meeting that, or two times ago, that according to a scientist from Mass Audubon, that the conditions of the permit that was issued by them in 2005 have not been met with respect to creating nesting sites. And I believe there are other conditions of that permit that haven't been met. And if NHE...
Which are what?
Which are what? I have them listed in another document that I can provide to you.
This is all information I believe we've gotten from you before, yes?
Some of it is information that you've gotten from me before a year ago when this permit, when the applicant had his definitive plan submitted that he later withdrew. But some of it is part of the BSC peer review, where Matt Byrne reviewed the permits, and in his estimation, the main permit that was granted by NHESP to cover both the Groton and Ayer portions of this land in 2005 has expired and is no longer valid. And he goes on to cite the reason why. And it's in your own Conservation Commission meeting minutes from the meeting where.
But he's not a lawyer either, so he's speculating.
He's not a lawyer either. That's exactly my point. Why are we all speculating? Why are we all speculating about this? Why does the town not, the town, the planning board has the power to do this under the provision, the laws, referenced in these draft guidelines, and the Conservation Commission also has
George.
Okay, here.
Just a minute. Give me some guidance here, please.
What's your question?
Do you feel that this needs to go to council?
is this our purview?
Yeah, that's the question. Is this our purview or is it planning boards? Do we just analyze what's basically been sent to us by the planning board and comment on it? Or do we have the authority to give direction to the applicant?
What's the answer?
I have this right on my laptop if you guys want to take a look at it. This This is the rules for hiring outside consultants.
No, I don't want to look at
Effective May 11, 2017.
Problem is, on this particular project, this is doing the recommendation is something we were tasked with by the OSRD bylaw. Other than that, we don't have legal jurisdiction. Isn't that what you're saying, George? For making requirements.
Right.
There's no application before the Conservation Commission. The
yeah.
application's before the Planning Board. It's part of the OSRD bylaw. The Planning Board asked the Commission for a conservation recommendation that then they turn around and review and then make their final decision to the applicant.
And we can pass these recommendations on to the planning board.
Just a minute, please. Go ahead, George.
We can pass these recommendations on to the planning board, tell them we think they should hire these people for their additional input.
We could pass those along.
Yeah.
This is the page 20.
I would like you to please review what I have sent to you, and I respectfully request, and I have done this on several other occasions, that you review this with town council. There is no downside to doing that. What I'm reading here is effective May 11, 2017. It doesn't have anything to do with the OSRD bylaws as far as I can tell. And it says that consultant services, specific consultant services may include but are not limited to resource area survey and delineation, analysis of resource area values, hydrogeologic and drainage analysis, impacts on municipal conservation lands, and environmental or land use law. Services may also include blah, 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 blah. The consultant shall be chosen by and report only to the Conservation Commission and its administrator. And that is what I assume you hired BSC Group under those provisions. And, you know, it seems to me that the applicant should be required to identify existing animal species and critical habitat areas in the area to be developed. And that an attorney should confirm the validity of and compliance with NHESP permit issued in 2005. And I don't see why you wouldn't exercise these rights and authorities that you have to do this.
Anything else?
Well, I would like to go back to my specific recommendations for the draft document.
Are those in your email?
They are in my email. So let me just go down to,
So we all have that now?
well, you have it and
Jess has
Heather has it and Jess has it, and I assume that Heather can forward that to you. You know,
So we can read it.
okay. And so, under recommendations on page, let's see.
Is there any recommendations that are not in here? You say these are your recommendations, or your additions to the recommend. recommendation?
I'm just going to, page,
No, my point is,
3.
we can read all these. Right?
yes, you can read all these when Heather forwards them to you.
Yep.
And, you could read my email and,
I only see 2 pages.
There's attachments to the email.
There's
and
attachments to
that's
the
where her
email.
recommendations
That's
are
what
coming to.
That's what I'm
All right.
So
saying.
it's in
So-
your email that you have at home.
So
And
my
then I'll forward it in the
specific,
morning.
so my specific recommendations are on page 3, under priority conservation areas map, the first bullet. The commission recommends the applicant be required to retain a trained ecological professional to contribute new and directly applicable data to support their current prioritizations of ranking of conservation areas. And I am simply saying there, the Conservation Commission is recommending that if the planning board is not comfortable, I think that language should be stricken. I think the Conservation Commission can and should require retainment of a trained ecological professional to survey, collect, and quantify floral and faunal data for the southern portion of the parcel, which is the property, that is looking at to being developed. And that's my first comment.
How many are
My
there?
3.
Okay.
My second comment is regarding blasting on page 5. I believe the commission should recommend that the applicant investigate and propose development that would not require any further blasting on the site, i.e. build homes without basements, a common modern practice that reduces both environmental impact and the cost of more extensive site development, and design and engineer the road layout to work within the existing site contours. Then further down on the same page, under, although out of the town of Ayer's jurisdiction, the planning board should take into account the failure of the applicant to fulfill the terms of the CMP on the Groton side of the parcel by not following through on construction of turtle nesting area, previously designated location in the town. And then it goes on to mention Tom Lautzenheimer's statements about the requirement to build nesting. And I'm just saying the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board should notify all state agencies having jurisdiction over this parcel, including NHESP, MISA, MIPA, etc., of the failure of the applicant to fulfill conditions and terms of the CMP issued in 2005. So again, this is a legal issue, and I think that when you meet with NHESP, it would be great if you could have legal counsel there to help you sort through all of this and to make sure that NHESP is aware that the applicant is not in compliance with that permit before they decide to extend it or, suggest that it is still in place, even though it says it's expired and even though BSC believes that it's expired. So those are my specific comments, and then I have a lot more comments that basically speak to deficiencies with in the conservation analysis where the sites we developed has not been, surveyed from an ecological standpoint, and therefore I don't think the Conservation Commission should be, at this time, without that information and that review and that evaluation in place, attempting to make recommendations to the planning board about where houses and roads should go when we don't even know what's living there. or
Okay,
growing
we got it. We got
Okay.
it.
And then the very last thing that I wanted to say just has to do with sort of circling back around, and again, it's in the email, but
So it's in the email that we're all gonna get?
Yes.
Okay. So,
I just want to say, I also want to note that this parcel has been identified in a 2018 Preservation Priority Report for the town of Ayer by MRPC as the #1 priority preservation area in their final analysis.
I think we all know that too.
Yep.
I would
Okay.
think that given that designation, in addition to the complexities and high ecological value of this site, it would be in the best interest of the neighbors and the surrounding community, as well as Ayer town boards, commissions, departments, and state environmental agencies to retain the services of an attorney with the legal expertise, experience, and credentials to review and coordinate with Robert Collins, who is the applicant's legal representative, as this proposed OSRD continues to move through the permitting and review process. And I just want to thank you guys for listening to everything I had to say and
Well, we
considering it.
can clearly see your concern and the amount of effort and time that you put into this. And we don't take it lightly,
much appreciated.
and we appreciate, and all this stuff that you sent us. We will look at it, for sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Mr. Diskin?
I just want to take a minute to thank you guys, the board, for all the work you've put in. It's evident in the report that it's taken an extensive amount of hours to do that kind of work, so we appreciate it, and speaking for myself, we'll consider everything that you've got to say. There's one final comment, it would be very slight. It would be a complete misunderstanding not to think that everyone in town hall has not looked at many aspects of this plan. And I think we all know that we'll look very deeply at anything that can be done to save the land and preserve it the best way we can.
Absolutely.
There's no misunderstanding. There's never been a misunderstanding from before the project started. And everyone's doing the best they can to dig right in.
That's what we're doing, the best we can.
That's right.
I appreciate everything that you all are doing.
Well, thank you, because we truly are doing the best we can. Yep. Yes, Ms.
So I would
Gugino.
just inquire of the planning board members here what the impact would be if we delayed. Presumably by the OSRD bylaw, you get a recommendation from us, but it doesn't necessarily specify we have to give you a recommendation. So what impact would this, given your timetable, what
I'd
are
say
we
go
working
back to
with?
your own timetable. My response is go back to your timetable and your own guidelines and your discussions that you had a couple of years ago on how long you would take to do this kind of work and get it to the planning board. I think you said it'd be like 4 to 5, 6 weeks, something like that. I'm saying it was your own recommendation.
Yeah.
You guys drafted some language and put it in a thought process that how long you thought it would take. This one's more complicated, so it probably took longer. But
It is pretty complicated.
I think that's my own opinion.
So are you suggesting that we sit on this for,
I don't know, it's not mine,
yeah,
no.
is that your thought? I'm asking your thought.
I would like to hear other people's thoughts first.
How about you, Jen?
In terms of not voting on it at our next meeting or holding on until longer, am I misunderstanding the question? I would think we'd be ready to vote on the 13th. or at least
So
up
for our next meeting.
for our next meeting. 'Cause it's,
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I don't think we need to have it tonight in its final form. We obviously still have some edits that Jess was gonna make.
Yep,
I'd like to read it in its final entirety.
yep.
Um,
You all want to have an opportunity to read the stuff
Right, and
for
I also
Annie,
wanna,
and
yeah.
consider that as well,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep, because there could be stuff that
and for Nan.
are very simple to add that we may have missed.
Yep.
So I just want to check that. And then I am still interested about the getting council's opinion on the permits, so.
Yep,
Yeah, I think with having that meeting on Monday, might be important to have that information in there as well.
what time is it on
Which,
Monday?
10:30.
10:30.
George?
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to consider all of this and we need to put a little more work into it.
Do what?
Put some more work into it.
I'm
Ken,
not-
you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mark what permits he's referring to. If he wants to get to legal counsel, what permits are you talking about?
Well, again, just as Annie had referenced, that our peer reviewer indicated that he thought they were null and void.
What permits?
CMP.
Permits
Thank you.
issued by NHESP and also under the purview of NISA and NEPA back in 2005.
Those permits are being reviewed, you know, like by other people too in town hall at the time, I assure you. You can do whatever you wish. If you want to vote to check those permits. I was curious as to exactly what permits you're talking about.
Yeah, no, that is specifically the one. So, yeah. And if town council's already
We asked
reviewed those and I
Mark
just don't know that, then that's
We
fine
asked him
too.
to start working on this a long time ago.
Ask who?
Excuse me?
Who did you ask to start working on this?
This is the town planner.
Town planner.
Naturally, it was in his purview, so we asked him to work on it as well. We're all interested in the same exact permits.
Yeah, I mean, if it's been reviewed and we know the answer, then. What's that?
I can't say that it has, but I can tell you other people are working on it.
Okay, and that's fine, so then let's get the
I've
results.
had
Let's get the answer.
I've had conversations in the past with the town planner, and he has not indicated that town council has been officially asked to review any of these.
No, that's correct. You're absolutely correct. The
So
town
I
council
would-
has not been asked.
Okay, so I would like to ask the board and the commission to officially request review by town council.
We can request it, they can say no. I mean, we can make the request.
Okay, well then I will ask the town manager, who do I need to make the official request of? The town planner, the town manager, who?
Town
Yeah.
manager. Hmm?
Is it the board of selectmen that decides?
Town manager.
And the town
Or town
manager.
council?
Yeah.
Town manager does, yeah.
I would think that if the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board made the request of of the select board, that would probably hold more weight and be more appropriate than me doing so as a concerned citizen. Am I correct?
We can do it. We can make a request. Okay,
I appreciate that.
sure.
Mhm.
Okay, then I think we're gonna, anything else before we leave this discussion? Anyone?
Nope.
All right, so I will make edits, tweaks, and then everybody should be looking at Annie's stuff and also then looking at the revised draft in light of that. And send comments.
By,
I
Next
Wednesday?
meeting is October 13th.
okay. So would you want review of emails and commentary, and then any requested edits back to you by a certain date?
Yeah, I would say ideally by the end of next week.
Okay. Close of business a week from tomorrow?
Yeah, so that's the last day of September, the 30th.
30th.
Yeah.
And Heather, you will forward to the other commissioners that information from
Yep.
from Ian? Thank you.
I also have another comment I want to make that's related, but not this. I have noticed over the years, since while I have been living at my address, which is directly downhill from the Stratton Hill development, a lot of water running off from the parcel.
We saw your video.
Okay.
That was before you got here.
And let me say that, we went on a sidewalk with Stan Dillis, and that was a question that we asked him. He said, we see water coming down the hill, and that's a concern to us. His comment to us was, the project's not done. It won't do that when the project is done, because there'll be controls in place to stop that from happening. So if that's your concern,
Plus,
it's a concern now, and as Mr. Diskin said, what we can do is make a request to the applicant, or make a demand to the applicant that he put in hay bales and straw wattles to stop that from happening now.
What my comment to that would be that when I met with Heather a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I appreciate what you say, and Jess read your text that you sent. I don't want you to quote what I say out of context, so I appreciate it if you don't finish that sentence.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that the applicant started to develop this land back in 2005 or 6, whenever it was, and he abandoned the site, and there is an existing retention pond that does not function properly, and it is, in my opinion,
The one down by the road?
yes, a
The one
public
that's not
health
finished.
hazard, and the applicant stated that it is not finished. But that does not mean that it's not a public health hazard and a mosquito breeding ground. And there is water leaving the site that did not leave the site before he built that road. And I don't know what the legal implications of that are, and I'm not gonna quote Heather, because she's asked me not to. But again, I think that whatever the legal ramifications are of this, and whatever the legal requirements that can be made of this applicant, before NHESP considers extending this permit or ruling on its validity, these are issues that should be taken into consideration. And again, this is why I would recommend that the town retain legal counsel to
We
help
got
us
it.
sort through this stuff.
We got it. We do.
I mean, there's gallons of water flowing down into my driveway and my neighbor's walkway, and people's basements are being flooded, and
And we will do something.
there's water running directly from the site into Sandy Pond. That sounds very illegal to me. And you guys are worrying about runoff potentially from going into Long Pond after the development happens? It's probably happening right now. How do we know? It hasn't been surveyed and evaluated properly in the opinion of the peer reviewer.
Okay,
I'll
well,
stop now.
to your point though, we'll make an effort to stop that from happening temporarily with straw wattles and hay bales. And if the project continues, that stormwater runoff should be controlled. And it's not now because it's not finished. That's my point. Okay? All right, what else we got? Conservation updates.
Yes, so, one quick update, just gave me the copy of it. So, last week, the pond treatment company went out on Friday to start treatment of the ponds. They finished up yesterday because they had some boat issues on site. And in regards to the algae bloom on Sandy Pond, they will not be able to go out and do their final treatment until the public health advisory is lifted on that.
Will it be too late at that point?
So they're gonna test to see and keep an eye on it to see if there's something they can do that treatment before the end of the season to do that, but they don't know until it gets later on. But
Okay.
hopefully some of the rain will help that we've had.
Sure.
What we really need to do is to wash it out. So just to get an update on that.
Wash it out or spread it.
Yeah. Dilute it somehow.
Yeah. Just, doesn't it just spread?
Well, it hasn't been flowing out of the.
Yeah, it hasn't shown up in Flanagan yet, so that's a plus, I guess. Oh gosh, I can't get over how much I need these. I don't have them until I take them off and I can't see. And just so you guys know what I've been doing, and so I made copies of these. Do you guys want to see them? So some of the towns, like I said, the last meeting or two ago, that there's a little pamphlet that they have. So I drafted one for Ayer. It's like wetlands guideline. If you want to review it and then give me your comments on it before we print it and
Oh, you got
post it and look at it. So and I'll make it look, I just printed it, it's not lined up right. But it's a, like living with wetlands guideline, why we need them, what's important, and stuff like that. So it's just part of the updates that I've been doing to the website, and something that I feel like we could put on there, as well as have copies printed out and put out in areas in town. So
Could we do a mailing as well?
yeah, we could do a mailing of them as well. I could get a hold of either the tax collector, or I know when I worked in Littleton and in Lancaster, they would try to get a hold of the water and sewer and try to send them out in bills.
Send them all the bill. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Save that in mind. So, if you want to review it, let me know if you have any things. Because I have space on the back page to help protect wetlands. If there's any other comments you want to put in there, what we can do in there, and saying things of like, did you know? So that's something I've been working on over the last week or so. There. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Trying to think if there's anything else. That's about it.
And you're gonna play with formatting and.
Yes, and the special order conditions, we're gonna look at, me and just sat and met with those, we're gonna look at formatting those. I pulled them up and I don't know what happened. I think I started reading it and I was trying to format it and I was getting angry. So formatting takes a while.
Yeah, and if you destroy the ones you have, then I still have them on mine, so.
Yeah, no,
I
and that's
keep
fine. And what it was,
multiple
yeah, because I was doing the special order conditions for the DPW for their project, and it's different than those ones that I think I was doing both at the same time. I was like, I'm getting confused. It's too much. So I'll start working on those and get those done to pass those out. And then in regards to adding items, I've been looking at, just because I found the majority of my time over the last month or so had been looking at trees that people want to cut down that are dead and dying in wetlands, and it's kind of annoying. I mean, I get they're dead, they want to take them out, it's fine. But looking at what other towns do, and when I say when we had the interview here, to try to create some sort of tree policy, which several towns have. And when I went to a delineation training last week, the agent in Spencer she's doing the same thing. And policies in regards almost similar to a regulation where you just have to have a public meeting in order to vote on it. So I'm going to be looking at drafting that and getting that to you guys hopefully for the next meeting, which would be a tree policy for cutting and removing trees within the wetlands in the buffer zone, to try to either create a requirement to replace those. And I don't know if we're going to if I want to do something where we're replacing them, if they're just cutting one, or replacing it anytime. If they're just dead, let them cut it. But if they're going to cut one at all, to do that requirement for replacement, as well as a procedure for them. Because I've kind of just been doing it on my own, where we do the administrative approval, but I've been telling the residents that I like to meet with arborists on site, just so I get an idea of how they're getting removed, and crane, dropping it, leaving it, how tall. So put that in there as well. So I'm gonna try to get that draft to you next meeting so we can figure out about if we have to do a public, I tried asking if I did DEP, if I had to do a public hearing on it. I think it falls in the line of a regulation. And my thought is if that one goes well, maybe drafting another one, and then if these all go well, and we have them on the books for a year or two, then maybe we can make them more legally binding by making them bylaws, and it would be like, well, we've already had it as a regulation for so long, and no one seemed to say boo about it, so no, we're just making it more legal, more enforceable. That's my hope on that end, to try to create a couple policies, and then
I thought if we had the bylaw, we had the ability to do regulations, so as long as we had regulations, we're good.
yes,
Right. I think she's talking about making it even a little bit more stronger, but
yeah.
There was also a late email in our mailboxes from, was this in our mailboxes? Something about cutting the trees in Peroni Park. There's some public pushback
I
on.
think there has been quite a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was one thing too. I'm like, oh, that
Yeah.
those are just that. So I'm like, oh, this would come in handy for that, because if we had that policy in the books,
Yeah.
if they're cutting those 2 or 3 trees down, then they'd have to replace them.
Yeah.
What was the pushback?
People don't want to see any trees cut down for
In
Peroni
the-
I
Park.
mean, in that little
Yeah,
park?
to look at other ways to remediate the soil without having to remove
Yeah.
trees in soil.
You're gonna kill 'em.
Apparently that's a historic nutting grove
Yeah.
trees, so there's some also historical value in at least trying to hold on to at least some
Yeah,
of them.
yeah. So again, this is just my way of
But
trying to do
it's-
my
it's on
part
the
to
town Facebook page.
the town's part to the commission's part to save
So
whatever
just-
trees we
just
can.
move Kitty Junction.
What?
Just move Kitty Junction, then
Yeah.
don't even dig it up, just leave it.
Just leave it.
Oh, just build a playground somewhere else and
Yeah.
move the trees. Yeah.
Exactly.
Big fence around.
Find
it.
other trees and build a playground on that one.
Yeah.
That's not arsenic, you know?
But you have
But-
to get rid of the arsenic.
But anyway, so
Do you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
state.
just don't
It's gonna
disturb
go,
it.
unless you move the park. Wow.
See you later.
So there you
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's
I'm
my
sorry.
update.
Yep. Any other member updates? I'm going to the MACC conference in Devon's October 15th.
Me too.
Anybody wants to go along? I'll drive. Get a free lunch,
And if you go early enough, you get coffee and donuts too.
coffee and donuts.
Oh, and more than donuts.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
I'm not going.
Not going.
I keep, when's the deadline date, like you gotta sign up by?
Oh, they just
That
posted
day.
last week, so it's
Is it?
going to be a couple weeks. In order to get the town to pay pay for it instead
Yeah,
of
yeah.
being reimbursed, it's getting kind of tight for that just because of how the deadlines work. The
So you can
warrants.
sign up for the.
But yeah, you can still
that
sign up for the
day.
classes, and then
I don't know what you mean by that.
so in order for the town to pay for it, so you can register for it.
Yeah.
What I asked MACC what we would do with that, and they said just you tell me what classes you want to take. I'll tell them. They register you. Then they send me an invoice, and then I have the town pay for it.
Versus going to
Versus
my
you
own.
you pay
Oh,
for
okay.
it and then submitting the receipts and having to get reimbursed. Because we just had the warrant just closed this week, so it's
Okay.
now 2 weeks out, and then it takes a week for the check to cut. Which, I mean, MACC knows how towns work. So if you told them, oh, the check's been cut, like
It's in
they're
the
like, oh,
mail.
okay, they know, so you know they're good for it. They're not gonna like tell you you can't go.
Okay.
But
That's what Heather kindly did for me, was I just told her what I wanted to do, and she
yeah, and
signed me
I
up.
submitted the invoice on Wednesday, so they'll get their money and you're all set to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then you would sell on the credit card points.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was a bit of a
That's
hassle.
what I do. Yeah, I do that.
Are you going?
No.
Are you going, Jess?
What?
Are you going to the MACC?
Going what?
No,
Yes.
not this time.
No? You are.
I am.
Are you going? No? Well, you might be, well, you're going, right?
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm going in the morning.
Okay. Just the morning?
Yeah, I have a baby shower in the afternoon, so I go at 10 in the morning. But I
Oh
got
my
2
God.
workshops.
I would rather go to the conference than a baby shower, sorry, but. Any day.
All right, I'll make a decision here
Yep.
in another day or so.
Anything else?
I don't have.
Mr. Diskin?
I thought, excuse me, Mr. Chair, but I was hoping that Heather would have a report on Air Solar 2. And
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
yes.
Follow-up.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was,
yes, sorry.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. I forgot all about that. So, Air Solar 2. I went out on site Wednesday morning. I was really hoping to catch Rihanna on site because I have, and I'll hopefully get out there tomorrow if I get the chance. There's a couple areas at the top of the slope that I showed to Jess that I had pictures of that it's starting to crack.
Just by the road?
Yeah,
Up
on
by
the road.
up
When
by
you get to
the
the large basin,
no.
going down the road,
Towards
yeah,
the-
towards the end of the road, going around the
Okay.
large basin.
Yep.
And before you get to the solar field, there's a couple areas where the top of the slope is starting to crack, and I don't know if that's due to recent rain or if it's something that's always been there, and I just noticed it a week ago when I went out. So I wanted to meet her on site. She wasn't there. Rohit has been better about his contact about what's going on site. He was going to have, he emailed me on Monday saying that he was going to get in touch with Oxbow to try to get them on site next week to start looking at doing the replication area plantings to get that plan going, and in hopes to get contractors out on site. Still not fantastic about notifying me because I know Rihanna always goes out and does her inspections at 8 o'clock on Wednesday, which is why I went out Wednesday. I was out there till 8:30. I never saw her, so I know she'll tell him if he's not. But so there's still some miscommunication out on site. There was a few areas in her report from last week that she noted for erosion that he had fixed. I had noted some areas of concern that he was going to pass on and get those looked at. I will reach out to him tomorrow to see if those items had been done. There's one section of the road further out, again, where the erosion drills have not been redone, that there is still starting to get built up on the hay bales, and there's one section that doesn't have anything growing there, so the road is starting to wash a little bit at a time because we're now getting to this rain dried out, so the roads, I feel like it's starting to get to that point where we might start finding issues.
So, the special conditions that were in here for
Yes.
Spectacle Pond.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw.
I saw that you just sent an email. Yeah.
So all of those were in there, right?
Yep.
And I
And
guess
I-
the big one that got me was the 15% extra was supposed to be somewhere.
When
Did we ever
On site.
see that? And I don't know. Obviously, it was before
no,
you.
so when I first came on and we started meeting with him, I sent him. I went through the special order of conditions and said, these are all the ones you're not following. And that's when I got started getting pushback and stuff. And they stated they had it out on site. I said, oh, okay, we're on site. I thought it was because they used the farm down the street. And I'm like, where are they? Because I kept saying, where are they? You keep saying they're out on site. They're not here. Oh, they're at our site in Devon. So I'm like, well, that's not here. So they had been. They were for one point. They're not there anymore. But they're for, I think I spotted them there once.
Okay. And then, as you just described, where there's this buildup.
Yeah, and I
That needs
mentioned it
to
to
be
them, and it
taken
was
away.
still there. It was still there yesterday when I went out. And I said I'm going to reach out to Rohit tomorrow, find out what's going on, have him be a little bit more communicative with me, and let me know when someone's going to be on site so I can meet them out there. It's not enough for me to say, oh, someone's going to be out there next week. I want to know what time, when, and if I can, and so I can meet them there. And it's just a little bit more of a pushing on them on that. And then I have been noticing that the road is starting to wash out. So the tree box filters that they did build, and again, I don't know. These are things I don't know who to ask these questions to because they say that everything's built right and they're not going to do anything to as built and whatever. The road that's not paved or final grade or anything, the dirt's starting to go over the concrete blocks that have been built there. So I got to make sure I mention that to Rohit too. But I wanted to go out and take a look at the site again because it rained today to see if anything else had happened.
Wonder if those cracks have gotten bigger.
That's what I say. I want to go look
Yeah.
at those. So I gotta.
Good day.
Well, we had a
Hopefully,
good-
I can get out there tomorrow.
I thought we had a pretty good meeting with Rohit and Cal Goldsmith and Kyle. And
we-
a little
we-
sit
we-
down
We did.
and we'll see.
The more I go through the special order conditions, I mean, they keep pushing back. They're not doing what they're supposed to. Still, no matter
even
what
after-
we ask, it's to follow the special order conditions to a T. It's not, if you read them, it's not we get an as-built plan when it's done. It's any time a change is done, we have to approve it.
Well,
Right.
I thought we stressed that many times that day.
they're not, they gave us that draft, but I hope you remember they did say that, well, they won't get a final set until they're done.
We stress that we want to know.
Yeah, yep, we wanna know, so, so I'm hoping I can get a hold of Rohit tomorrow, and hear back from him tomorrow, if not Monday, on when someone's gonna be out on site that I can meet them and discuss what's going out there. And I just have concerns with the stormwater
Sure.
on site, and the plans and getting everything built
Yep.
how it's supposed to be, because I don't know, if it's not built to the plan and it's okay, well, I should be able to ask them to have that reviewed. So, I feel like we should be doing that, just because I am noticing that so when I was out yesterday, the dirt from the road, it's not final grade or paved, whatever, it's starting to wash over those tree box filled the concrete block, and I don't know, is that fine? Can that happen, or is it supposed to be
Bring it
stone
up to
around?
him. No, just bring it up to Rohit. Almost gotta be
Stone
fixed.
around it, and yeah, and I want to see that those cracks have gotten worse. They weren't worse yesterday, but it was still cloudy out, and I'm like, if the sun hit it, it probably made them worse. So
It's
hopefully I can
that getting wet, drying out,
getting wet, drying out. Which I said when I went out, it was still wet, so I got to go up there when it's dry. Which
Yeah, you had
is
to
the
do that.
kicker.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to ask my question, I opened the topic up.
Oh, sorry.
My question was going to be whether the commission had made a determination that they were gonna accept those proposed draft changes in any form. Have you voted on anything? I know there was a PDF plan sent in, I got a copy of it, I think, boxes of notes and whatnot. Wasn't really a formal drawing with a stamp that had been, showed the changes. And I was curious if the commission had decided they were gonna accept those changes, or what the status was on those changes.
Well,
They were major changes.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah, I thought at the time we said we were comfortable with the explanation that the changes that were made till, up to that point, but then we were, again, reinforcing, as you said, that they needed to, if there's other changes to be made, we need to be made aware of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I
Weren't they
thought.
also gonna do a listing of all the changes? Have they done that yet?
No.
No.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, we
the-
went
that's
over
the
all
thing.
the changes that they had done to date.
Well, no, excuse me, sorry, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
yeah.
Not to be-
Go right ahead.
Not to be
We're not that formal
too
here, Ken.
contradictory, I think you went over the changes that they had highlighted on a drawing that they gave you.
Yes.
It's far from the changes that have been made on the plan. They may have been highlighted some of the changes they thought they had done. But just for simple discussion purposes, she talked about the replication areas, but there's been no planting of any, there's been, first of all, no placement of any topsoil. You've heard me say this a half a dozen times now. So needless to say, we're getting late in the growing season, there's nothing
yeah.
gonna grow over the winter.
Yeah, no,
There's the tree box filters that Heather's referring to. Don't forget, there's supposed to be a tree in there.
Yeah.
That's why they call it a tree box filter.
Yeah.
There's no trees. in
no
there.
trees.
They have not planted a tree anywhere on the site that's shown on the drawings.
Right.
So that kind of extensive finish work is not even been touched. So
Well,
it would be a surprise to me if they could go out and get the replication areas done and bring in I know that's a special specification material that goes in there, and the planting and so forth, so without having concentrated on the simple completion of the rest of the project. That's,
his comment was that he can't get people out there.
okay.
I mean,
Pay 'em
I
more.
don't
Yeah.
know, but
There hasn't been any work besides the electrical work out
I
on
know
site
it's
for 2
done.
weeks.
I go by it every day, I see it.
sure.
But they
I'm
still
just
could get us the
commenting that,
list.
Yeah, no, I'll follow up on that, and then, and I'm sorry, Ken, to cut in that, I agree that they're not gonna get this stuff done before the end of the growing season, I get that. So my plan was probably by mid-October to send Rohit an email in to GPR to have them get me a, how they're gonna close the site down for the winter, cause it's not gonna be done.
So the point I was trying to make, Mr. Chair, was that I don't want to put extra pressure on the board. You've got no pressure on you, but somewhere along the line, someone has to say, we've decided to agree on these changes, and go ahead, sign off on the changes with a bona fide drawing that shows them, not a bunch of boxes with arrowheads that I could do like on a computer. on a
Well,
PDF.
plans aren't right either.
Is that something that you can,
Bona fide drawing, but a list
With a
specified.
Yeah,
stamp
the
on
list,
it.
and when it gets to the point too where the commission has to decide if it's an amended order or not. That was my comment when we first brought these,
Yeah.
if the commission's gonna decide if these plans justify an amended order of conditions or not. That was my main
Yeah.
point in getting these, is we can get them all day long, but it's up to you guys to decide if those changes are significant enough to qualify as an amended order of conditions, and have to go back through that whole process.
Just one more final thought, excuse me,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. There was also a discussion that occurred, and this is important, and it may have already been done. We talked a lot about, in the previous discussion, about NHESP. And certainly enough, you know that I live within an ACDC, and all the Bio-2s and all that stuff goes right across the town. So a discussion was had that a letter or some commitment would be given from NHESP that this change that was on the job complied with the permit that they issued and the condition that they issued as well. I'm not sure if you've received that or not.
I asked again.
So that's,
Okay.
to me, that's a
You,
step.
you asked for it.
I asked it, we had that meeting, and I
yep.
said, I'll put it, thank you, Kim, for reminding me, I'll put it on my note to follow up with them on that, but I've asked them several times for it, I still haven't gotten it.
Mr. Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing as I was the chairman of the planning board when this was approved, there was an agreement, stipulation set forth that the proponent cannot connect and remove electricity from the property until he has final approval from the planning board. I would respectfully let you know that you might want to remind him of that.
No,
We
they
also-
know.
I know they know. I thought I'd say it out loud here if you don't mind me. The other thing we asked them for, because of the changes, and we all met in the field, and I think we could all say that went fairly well in the field when they came to the planning board afterwards, without telling you blow by blow what happened. We did come to an agreement with the engineering company that they would do a new set of plans and they would do a call out on the cover sheet of the changes, not just do them on the subsequent pages underneath. So that might work for you all to know that they have to build those drawings for us. And it might help you also to just make the same stipulation to the engineer. Call out what the changes are on the cover page so we don't have to dig through 10 pages or 15 pages of drawings to find out what they are. And that was a stipulation that was agreed to by the proponent and also by the engineering firm in our last meeting.
When was
Mr.
that?
Diskin was not in the meeting at that time, and that's why
That was
I'm letting you
back
know
in July
that
28th,
that
I
took
think.
place.
When was that meeting?
Whatever the sidewalk was, we met with them.
So that was
Our-
back in July?
We met on
Yeah.
site in June, the meeting that
yeah, it was
Jeff
over
was
the
talking
summer.
about was in
I can't remember
July.
the exact date.
When were they supposed to get you?
As-built at the end, for the
We
planning
agreed
board.
upon as-bills
Okay,
at that point.
okay.
I was unaware that you needed drawing, we didn't know what you needed,
Okay.
but I don't think it's a stretch to say, draw them the same way you're gonna draw them for the planning board. You're gonna have to get it done anyway.
Right.
So, they were at that point in time, they were unable to give us, they hadn't done the new stormwater calculations and a few other things they were working with DPW on. So Jess, we were unable to actually stipulate at what point in time we would get the drawings,
Okay.
but we also recognized that a fair amount of the work was fairly complete, it was done in the field. They held their hat in their hands and said, sorry, we'll give you drawings. But it just might help you to say, give them to us the way you're gonna give them to the planning board. Stamped, dated, signed, with call-outs on the cover sheet so we know what's going on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, but that wouldn't answer Heather's question of whether this needs an amended order of conditions.
I understand that, but I
Yeah.
just, if you're gonna ask for something they're already doing,
Okay.
is what I'm saying. Not to make it easy on them, it's just,
Right.
we're working in the same direction at that point, I think.
Ms.
That's merely a suggestion.
Are they far enough along that they can put those together, or are they gonna argue, well, we still have,
It's Mark, I wish that's a question I could answer, I can't.
I second.
Mr. Archambault, maybe
Well, I get
give
it,
us some
yeah,
input
argue.
on that, I don't know.
I mean, how close are they?
We were hoping he'd be done with this by now.
There's not a single part of that project that's complete except for those solar panels.
Yeah.
That's right.
And right now, it's just costing him money to have him sitting there. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not able to take any value out of that until he gets it done.
Are you sure that they're not connected?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. The connection piece has to go through people who are very aware that
Yeah.
they have to have this in
Oh,
place
I ask the
before they
question
connect.
all the time.
Because they have to sign off on it for them to connect.
Did you have a comment, Ann?
Yeah, no, my only comment was, I was a conservation administrator for decades, and I understand your frustration. You know, the applicant keeps saying, oh yeah, okay, I'll do it, and then, you know, a couple weeks go by and it still isn't done. I would suggest, deadlines, you know, and saying, well, it looks like you're in violation, there appears to be some erosion.
I did that, that's when I got
And,
stuff. I don't want
And
to do
you
it
must fix it by such and such a date, or we're gonna start issuing fines. And that sometimes catches their attention.
Yep. Well, that was sort of threatened
again.
violation.
And then follow through once or twice, and, you know, sometimes that
Yeah.
helps.
Thank you. Any other comments? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?